Hello everyone, my name is Viyaan Chaudhry. I am a student of Guruji Pandit Sanjay Rath. Today I am going to talk about planets and combinations that give a career in law, that is either as a lawyer or a judge. So let us get started. Now first of all, Jupiter is the primary significant of a law as it rules the knowledge and understanding of law. So Jupiter is the most important planet as far as a career in law is concerned. And talking about becoming a lawyer has to fight a battle of sorts with the lawyer of the opposite party to either get justice for his client or to save his client from an accusation. So an important aspect of being a lawyer is to fight on behalf of his client. And whenever we talk of a fight or a battle of any kind, Mars comes into the picture because Mars is a fighter. Mars is the commander-in-chief of the army of the Devas. It is Mars who gives us our fighting abilities. A strong Mars gives us tremendous fighting prowess. But the fight a lawyer gets himself into is not happening on a battlefield. It is happening inside a courtroom where he is fighting with his knowledge of law, with his ability to communicate, with his ability to argue, with his ability to debate, and trying to convince the judge that the law is on the side of his client. So as a lawyer is fighting with his knowledge, Jupiter comes into the picture, and because a lawyer needs to communicate, to argue, to debate, Mercury, the significator of speech, comes into the picture. So if Jupiter is having an influence on Mars, or if Mars and Jupiter are associated with each other, the person will have the ability to fight with his knowledge. And if Mercury has an influence on Mars, or if Mars and Mercury are associated with each other, the person will have the ability to fight with his words. That is, the person will be good in arguments, he will be good in debates. So if Jupiter or Mercury, or better, Jupiter and Mercury are associated with Mars, the person will have the ability to become a good lawyer. Other planets which contribute in you becoming a good lawyer are Rahu, because Rahu gives you the ability to interpret law to the benefit of your clients. Saturn is also important because Saturn rules precedents. Precedents are the old judgments a lawyer can cite before a court if he thinks that citing that judgment will tilt the judge's decision in their favor. Talking more on the aspect of a lawyer fighting on behalf of his client, the 6th house of the chart becomes important because the 6th house deals with your enemies, your competitors, even court cases. All these things come in the 6th house. And malefic planets in the 6th house are fabulous for lawyers because malefic planets in the 6th house ensure that you win over your competitors. The malefic planets being Sun, Mars, Rahu and Saturn. So for the material world and material success, it is good to have malefic planets in the 6th house. Generally, malefic planets in the 3rd house, 6th house and 11th house are very good for lawyers because malefics in these houses give the native an attitude of fighting and gaining things in life. The ability to fight is also seen in the 3rd house from the Arudha Lagna. So a strong malefic planet or a malefic sign in the 3rd house from the Arudha Lagna is also good for a lawyer. The courage to stand up for what one thinks is right is based on conscience, which is seen in the 3rd house from the Karakamsha. So a malefic planet or a malefic sign in the 3rd house from the Karakamsha will make a person bold enough who shall never hesitate in speaking his mind. This is also a good trait to have if you want to become a lawyer. So with all this information, let us see some charts now.
This is the chart of Richard Nixon, the former president of the United States, and before becoming the president, he was a successful lawyer. So let us see the combinations in his chart that led him to become a lawyer. In the Rashi chart, the Lagna is Leo, and the Lagna Lord Sun is in the 5th house. That brings the Arudha Lagna in the 9th house in Aries. The Lord of Arudha Lagna is Mars, and it is conjoined Mercury and Jupiter. As I've told you before, that these 3 planets are very crucial in giving you a career in law. So as the Lord of Arudha Lagna is Mars, and Mars is conjunct Mercury and Jupiter, his image indeed was that of a lawyer. The Amatyakarak Sun is also in the 5th house in the sign of Jupiter, and Jupiter is associating with Mars and Mercury, again confirming his career as a lawyer. Because Amatyakarak is the planet having the 2nd highest degrees in a chart, and it is the Amatyakarak which determines our profession. So whichever sign the Amatyakarak is placed in, whichever planets the Amatyakarak gets associated with, helps in determining our profession. Now this conglomeration of planets in the 5th house is making a lot of good and powerful yogas. One of them is the Parijata Yoga. Parijata Yoga is a wish-fulfilling tree with its roots in heaven and fruits on earth. This yoga confers knowledge, wealth and status in the society. Parijata Yoga gets formed when the lords of the 2nd, 4th and 11th houses get associated with each other. So in this chart, the conjunction of Mercury and Mars is forming Parijata Yoga, as Mercury is the 2nd and 11th lord and Mars is the 4th lord. The conjunction of 4th lord Mars with the 5th lord Jupiter also makes him a learned man. Now, as we know that for a lawyer, his speech is also very important. The 2nd house and 2nd lord also come into the picture because planets influencing the 2nd house and 2nd lord determine how our speech will be. So if Jupiter gets associated with the 2nd house of 2nd lord, the person will only speak what he himself is convinced of. As a result, such a person will also be able to convince others through his speech. And if Mars and Mercury are associated with the 2nd house or 2nd lord, the person will have a clever speech, he will be good in arguments, he will be good in debates. So in this chart we see that Mercury is the 2nd lord, it is conjoined Mars and Jupiter, and these three planets are also having Rashi Drishti on the 2nd house, giving him that ability to speak well as a lawyer. Now moving on to Nixon's Navamsha chart. In the Navamsha chart, we see the Artha Trikona, that is the 10th house, 2nd house and 6th house for wealth and profession of a native. And as we know that the Lagna of Navamsha chart maps to the 9th house of Rashi chart and the 2nd house of Navamsha chart maps to the 10th house of Rashi chart. Therefore, we also see the 2nd house of Navamsha chart for the profession of a native. So in this Navamsha, the 2nd lord Jupiter is again conjunct both Mars and Mercury, confirming his profession as a lawyer. This conjunction of Jupiter, Mars and Mercury is also in the 10th house from Karakamsha, as Moon is the Atmakarak. Even in the Dashamsha chart, where we see the Artha Trikona for determining the profession of a native, the 10th lord Saturn is conjunct Mars and Mercury to again indicate his profession as a lawyer. With this, let us move on to the next chart. Now the second chart belongs to Robert Kardashian, the father of the Kardashian sisters. He was also a lawyer. And in his Rashi chart, the 2nd lord Saturn is in the 6th house, and Saturn is also involved in Parivartan with both the 6 lords, Moon and Venus. Now whenever the 2nd lord is associated either with the 6th house or the 6th lord, the person earns his wealth after defeating his enemies or competitors. This is also a welcome combination to have for a lawyer. Looking at his Navamsha chart, we notice that Jupiter, Mars and Mercury are again associated with the Artha Trikona. And also in the Dashamsha chart, Jupiter, Mars and Mercury are occupying the Artha Trikona, that is the 10th house, 2nd house and the 6th house. And with this, let us move on to the next chart. This is the chart of Anil Srivastava, a senior advocate at the Supreme Court of India. In the Rashi chart, we again see that the 2nd lord Mercury is conjunct Mars and Jupiter. Saturn in the 6th house is fabulous for winning over competitors. Mars and Mercury are again forming Parijata Yoga. In the Dashamsha, there are equal number of planets in the 6th house of service and 7th house of private practice. And this just shows working under a senior before starting one's own private practice. With Venus and Sun occupying the Artha Trikona, Mr. Srivastava has also served as a legal advisor to various companies and government commissions. So these were the charts of some successful lawyers.
Now let us talk about planets and combinations which help a native to become a judge. Now the combinations for a judge are more or less similar to that of a lawyer because most of the judges have been lawyers before they became a judge. Jupiter, the significator of fairness and justice, should be strong, or Venus, the lord of Libra, should be strong. Why Libra? Because the scales of Libra symbolize the judiciary where good and evil is weighed before pronouncing a judgment. The 9th lord of Rashi chart should also be strong to indicate that the native is an administrator of justice. And the 10th lord of Rashi chart also needs to be strong to indicate that the native has power to issue orders. And those orders will have to be implemented if the Rashi and Navamsha dispositors of the 10th lord are also strong. Now, if the 10th lord is associated with benefic planets, it will mean that the judge will be kind in judging and will pass merciful orders. Instead, if the 10th lord is associated with malefic planets, the judge will pass cruel orders and will punish without mercy. With this information, let us see the chart of a judge now.
This is the chart of David Brand, also known as Lord Brand. He was a successful British lawyer who also served as a Solicitor General, and then later on he also served as a judge. Now, as we know that in the chart of a judge, we have to see the strength of the 9th lord and the 10th lord, because a strong 9th lord will indicate that the native is an administrator of justice, and a strong 10th lord will indicate that the native has powers to issue orders. In this chart, the 9th Lord Mars is conjunct an exalted Mercury forming Parijata Yoga, and the 10th Lord Venus is in its Mool Trikon sign Libra, which symbolizes the judiciary. This 10th Lord Venus is also associated with two malefic planets, and as I've told you before, that if the 10th Lord is associated with malefic planets, the judge will pass cruel orders and will punish without mercy. The wiki profile on David Brand clearly mentions that he had earned himself a reputation for harsh sentencing. The 10th Lord of the Shamsha is also in Libra, conjunct an exalted Saturn, confirming his working as a judge. Saturn is also important for judiciary, as Saturn represents Yama, the god of death, who was given the title of Dharmaraj, that is, upholder of Dharma. And to punish us human beings for our sins is also the job of Saturn. So this was my lecture on a career in law. If you like this lecture, you may give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of such lectures, you may subscribe to my channel, and for consultations, you may visit my website viyaanastrologist.com. Thank you.